kids. Okay, good noon everyone, and welcome all, and thank you for the opportunity to present here. So the topic of our paper is behavior theory based agile squads in middle school. So let me move on to the next slide, which asks a question of why this research. So it so happened that one day when we were at the cafeteria discussing about our kids over a cup of coffee, one of our colleagues got a call from her son who was literally crying, on the phone, saying that he has some doubts and he wants our help. But when our colleague told him, just why don't you just go speak to your friends? And the reply was really shocking when he said, they don't want to share their notes because the other person might get more marks than me. So the moment we thought about it, that was a moment when we thought that we should do something about it, probably should do some research on this, and that sowed the seed for the need of this paper. So like India's ex-president Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said, if you want to put an end to corruption, catch them young and teach them the values. So the current population will soon leave, and the current bunch of youngsters with such value system will form a strong India. So catching them young and changing the behavior is one main focus of this experimental paper. So if we peek into the education system of our country, in ancient times, the education system was more in terms of, it was called Gurukul, wherein the students used to reside at the Guru's residence and learned all they could from the teacher. But after the colonial era came into place, the schools were set up and the confined system of subjects were brought into education. So if you look at it right now, in the present time, the education system has become more like exams, just exams, where the children, get into a rat race for marks. For them, every mark counts, even a half mark, a 0.5, everything counts. So when we look at the national survey, which was conducted a few years back, it revealed that more than 80% of school principals in India, they blame rote learning as a reason for poor standards. So of these, almost 70% of them felt that the curriculum followed in India today does not give sufficient scope for creative thinking or even the basic soft skills. So, I would like to quote Dr. Kalam again here saying, Indian education framework needs to change completely, which I completely agree with him. So the aim of this research was to address the soft skill aspect of the educational system. And we took our little baby steps towards addressing the softer aspects of collaboration and co-creation in this research paper. If we move on, why Agile? We could have picked up any other topic, but why Agile? So if we look at the Agile framework, it is one unique kind where the principles and practices focuses on mutual respect, trust, transparency, and co-creation. And these are the fundamentals of human race, and to bring back the value system that was drifting away in the current education system to co-creation, competing with the self rather than competing with each other, no other framework would have been more appropriate. So we picked up a handful of principles out of the 12 principles, which are here. These are the 12 principles of Agile, but we picked up a handful of them. As you can see, we have used in the green dots in the slide, they are welcome change, work together, trust and support, face-to-face conversation, though we could not do it in person because due to the situation, current pandemic situation. So thanks to technology, we could accomplish it through online platforms. Sustainable development, continuous attention, and self-organizing teams, and reflect and adjust. Now, to address the question of why psychology, I will hand it over to my co-author, Sri Anand Chandra. Over to you, Sri.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sunita. So, I always aspire about, I talk a lot about transactional analysis because it says that children are like a blank CD and they acquire the data from the date of their conception. And they slowly start acquiring the behavior from the environment. And naturally, that has got an impact in the psyche, which slowly develops a belief system about the self and the environment around them. So the belief system could bring out the best or the worst in an individual. And this research focuses on the positive psychology of the students. So when we started this research, we started identifying many other psychological models like Big Five factor, MBTI, and trait theory. As the adage goes, it is difficult to mold the clay when it dries. So all of the above were focusing more on the behavioral aspects from the adult perspective. And the personality adaptation model was the one which was based on the ego states in transaction analysis. Since this deals with the formation of behavior from the childhood, we felt this to be a much more appropriate concept uh, for this, and that's what we chose. So when we move on to the next slide, the ego state model. So thanks to Byrne who found this out. So as per Byrne, a consistent pattern of feeling and experience directly related to a corresponding consistent pattern of behavior. So where this parent, adult, and child is in synergy with each other. So the parent ego state, in this state, your state of mind resembles that one of your parent. So we tend to respond as he or she would have with the same posture, gesture, vocabulary, feeling, etc. A person in the parent state wants to control the situation by establishing the rules and setting the boundaries, giving directions, providing discipline, being authoritative. And then the child ego state. So in this state, you react as you would have when you are a young boy or a girl. So probably in the first few years when we don't have the capacity to speak, we do it with feelings. Say, for example, even if I'm hungry, angry, upset, anything would be shown in the form of feelings. So when I replay such a behavior at some later point of my life, I'm in my child ego state. So I don't filter the way I behave. And then the adult ego state, this is typically you review the situation objectively with all the data points that you have, and you respond in a non-prejudicial manner. So a person, the adult state, reacts not by dictating others. So you use good judgments instead of emotions to make decisions, make a careful assessment of the situation, showing respect for others and being willing to compromise. Okay, so and with respect to the ego states, I will just share a quick story. So that's always my favorite story, I would say. So which would give much more clarity about at least a couple of ego states. So once a husband wife was there, the wife was cooking fish, and she cut the head and then was cooking the remaining fish with water she had. Husband was asking, "Why do you do that?" I don't know. My mother used to do it. I'm doing like this. Okay. And when they went to their mother's house, the in-laws' house, the next time, they were asking the same question to the mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law responded, say, "I really don't have a clue. My mother used to do like this. I'm doing like this." Okay. And then they went to the grandmother's house, and grandmother gave an interesting response stating that that day I didn't have a bigger vessel, so I had to cut the head separately. So I had space only for the body. So here, if you look at the grandmother, she's reacting or responding from adult ego state, and both the mother and the daughter were doing it from the parental ego state. So this could give a little bit idea about the ego states. Okay, so when it comes to the ego states, so we had an idea about these things, and then the functional ego states is typically about the controlling parent and the nurturing parent. So nurturing parent is one who actually says that, yeah, we can handle this. So giving him confidence, giving him energy, motivating him. And critical parent is keep on abusing and then cribbing about what the son does. And then even from a child perspective, there could be a adaptable child or a rebellious child and a free child. So the rebellious child resists for everything. The adapted child says yes for everything, and the free child behaves spontaneously. So this is about the functional ego states. You can go to the next slide, slide 7. Okay. So personality adaptation is an interesting concept or a theory that was originally found by Paul Ware and then elaborated by my my personal guru, I would call it, Van Jones, who is a doctorate. So they refers to 6 basic adaptations on how to survive and meet the expectations one's family or origin. So there were 2 types of adaptations. One is the surviving and the performing adaptations. So out of those 6, so the surviving adaptations are responses to first psychological issues during the oral stage. So Erik Erikson defines it as the basic trust versus the mistrust. So these adaptations are initially the children's responses on how best to take care of themselves when the trust breakdowns with the parent, and when they no longer can trust the environment to meet their child needs. Okay, so out of which we go to the creative daydreamer. So creative daydreamer is when the parenting is underdone. So the parents are tentative in how they interact with the child. So the child senses this tentativeness and is silent to make any demands to the parents. So positively, they become supportive of the parents in the hope that the parents might feel more secure and in turn to take care of the children. So negatively, if you see, it starts withdrawing, stating that I won't need you, I won't, I would literally take care of myself. So they are like, they would always live in a fantasy world, expecting the parent to do something for them. Typically, not to bring in politics, but people expecting the government to do something for them, something like that. Okay. So brilliant skeptic. So brilliant skeptic is basically with respect to the inconsistency in the parenting. So the parents might react positively sometimes, might react negatively sometimes. They really don't know when, how the parent would react for a particular situation. Say, for example, for scoring 85 or 90 marks on one situation, the parent might appreciate and stating that, wow, you have done the best job. In some other situation, the parent might react that, why did you miss that 5 marks? Why did you not get a centum? So these people doesn't know when and how they would react. So typically what this adaptation people do is they try to find an answer for everything around them and then keep things ready. It is like doing an FMEA. What are the possible ways it might fail and getting an answer for them? So that's how the brilliant skeptic people react to the environment. Say even when they want to plan for a tour, they absolutely want to have each and every element of their life to be planned. They can't take surprises because that would totally dismantle their plan and they might get blown away out of proportion. So the next one is the charming manipulator. When the parenting is overdone, the parents interact with the child in an anticipatory manner. So often to show how good parents they are. So they do for the child even before the child is having a need. So the child learns to expect constant stimulation and is not expecting anything from the parent. So this pattern breaks down when the parents are tired or not present for the kid. So they try to seek attention over that. And to seek attention, so to trying to get the materials what they want in life when the parent is available or not. So negatively, it starts to use this little professor in it to manipulate, justifying the way it approaches to meet its needs. So little professor in the sense that you can see some of the children being a little manipulative at an earlier age. Okay, so they know that if I cry, my mother would give me an ice cream. If I do this, my mother would do that. If I fall sick, my mother would. So like this, the children would have the child would have read the parent as an algorithm, and they know if I do this, if like an if then else condition. Okay, so they try to behave in a particular way. Can you move on to the next slide? So the next is about the performing adaptation. So performing adaptations are more of a response to a parental emphasis or an appropriate behavior and expectations regarding the performance both in family and in an outside environment. So it's more of a conditioning of the child. So there are 3 types of adaptations: the playful resistor, the responsible workaholic, and the enthusiastic overreactor. So when it comes to the playful resistor, that's a typical case what most of us would have seen. So the parents often say that it's my way or the highway. So the child responds no way. Okay, so the result is a power struggle between the parent and the child which keeps on going. So the child concludes you have to struggle to survive. Okay, so it goes to a state where I would put the best resistance so that you are also not happy with what things are going on. Okay, so most of the attention the child receives through the conflict with the parents. So that thus playful resistors put a lot of energy in struggling. So if you see the image that you have, so from the parental ego state, it says that to the child what has to be done, and the child says that no, I will not do that. This would have been the initial stages of life what you have come across, typically being in a traditional parenting scenario. But this would have made us believe that even for the smallest of the things we would fight. Say for example, a typical case could be like, tonight I'll go and say that tomorrow morning by 5 o'clock I have to wake up, I have to go to the gym, I should do a 5-kilometer running, and then I should clean the house. And then the next day morning, why should I do it? Okay, today it's my day, it's Sunday. Who can stop me from taking that extra 2 hours rest? So you yourself will convince in such a way that you don't do anything more there. So you could technically see the command that's coming from your parent to yourself, and from a child you start resisting why you don't want to do. Okay, so some of the people, if you see, the moment it comes as a order, or it comes as a when people say that you have to do in a particular way, the first point is the resistance. Okay, so it is a playful resistor that happens, that struggle happens within that individual, and that is the reason why people behave in a particular way. The positive side is that when they are nurturing parent playfully explains how important, why it has to be done in a particular way, and leads by example, the child from rebellious moves to adapted child and responds really well. So it is like how we have to interact with people, knowing their adaptations and then responding to that appropriately. So next is responsible workaholic. Is there a question? Okay. So the responsible workaholic are obsessive, compulsive about the adaptation. So they want to be the good boys or the good girls. So they are praised for being the model child. So they learn to equate worth and value of having it and fathers, having mothers and fathers' approval. So as a result, they put a lot of energy in being model citizens and doing it really well. So next is the enthusiastic overreactor or the historianic. So the male with these adaptations are supposed to be the mother's confidant and companion, while the females were supposed to be the father's little princess. So both of them get most of the strokes as children for being cute, delightful, and loving. So, but keeping others happy is a behavior that they can engage in without a great deal of thought and still get the maximum number of strokes from others. So they learn to be emotionally attentive to people. So even the smallest of the things when people go through, so enthusiastic overreactor would be the first one to really jump into given emotional support over that. So in that process, one bad thing is that they spend a lot of energy pleasing others. They are appreciated for the being and motivated for doing. They become excellent performers. So next is, can you go on to the next slide? So next is the approach what we took for this presentation. Okay, now initially she started with the why agile, and then why psychology. I started with this, and then we had the ego state model and the personal adaptation. Now we are just trying to connect the dots. Initially first time when people asking why is he jumping from this to this, so I'll just make the connections over here. Okay, excuse me. So the approach that we use for this paper is outlined. So the first and foremost step we decided to work on this paper was to finalize on the psychological model, which we would weave into agile, which result in a matrix to help us create the squads. So agile and personal adaptations are two aspects which are synergized that can give the best of the results. On one hand, agile focuses on the dynamic aspects of a system, at the same time focus on the results. It focuses more towards a mindset behavioral change, and an ideal concept when transformed into different aspects of life can bring in phenomenal results. So, and this paradigm shift is what is the need of the hour for the educational system to be revamped in a different arena. So the next is we based upon the questionnaire. So the matrix outlined here has 6 personal attributes which can be mapped as enablers or doers. So we had a questionnaire. So on this split is purely based on the characteristics of personal adaptations and not limiting the students as enablers or doers. As at some point in time, the enablers would need to be doers, and the doers could also be enablers. So what is doers and enablers? So enablers are the one, see, apart from what they can do, they can enhance they can energize, they can enhance, they can support, they can mentor the environment. And doers are typically the inline people. When given an instruction, they will go ahead with that. So let me explain the forthcoming slide. Where does this come into picture? So based on the responses to John's personal adaptation questionnaire, the above matrix and the scores from the earliest test, these squads were formed. So we formed a squad of 8 members, and we had around 5 squads for the control group. Each squad had a minimum of 1 enabler, and the rest were doers. The implementation part was we went to the school to give an overview about what we intend to do, and how to get the buy-in from the management, teachers, and the students particularly. Once the buy-in was obtained, a social contract was developed and agreed upon with the teams on how we would connect, how frequent we would connect, what is expected out of the team, and what would be the governance structure that was agreed upon. So mainly the purpose here is that, say, typically in a class, we know there are the first set of benches who really do well, focus on everything, and there are this middle set of students who do well, but they don't know how to get on to the next level. And typically the last benches we do have. So how do we form a healthy group of all these individuals in such a way that they help each other? There is a self-sufficient group, so that the last benches from say 30-35%, they move to 55-60, and who are scoring 55-60-65, they move to the next level of 75 and 80, and who score 80 plus, not only they do take care of themselves, they also take care of their fellow students excuse me, fellow students who are studying along with them, so that the overall results of the class improves. And when we try to replicate the solution across, how much improvisation we could have in the educational system. So the basic concept is that on one hand, the fantastic aspects, the value system of Agile that would come into place. From the other aspect, we bring in ego states, personality adaptation into this, and then we club hand in hand and then see how better we could take it up. So now to throw some light on the challenges, results, and conclusion, I would pass on the baton to Sunita from her statistical perspective. She really helped us to get this converted into numbers and to results. What is Sunita?
Thank you, Sri. So while we were researching for this paper, we found that there were more papers in psychology separately and agile separately, but both together was not available. So psycho-agilical involving psychological aspects coupled with agile was first of its kind, and we needed to pave our way through this. And personality adaptation is actually a huge ocean on its own. And narrowing it down to few aspects to the scope of this paper was really challenging. And the next was to identify the school, and then talking to them into it was a huge task. And they were initially a little skeptical and worried about the results. But, sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Since for the past decades, typically the schools have become a business model where they play the number game of marks and pass percentage. So that was a huge challenge. And the next one was to talking to the parents into agreeing, for their wards to be part of the research. Then keeping the children motivated, bringing them back to the mindset of sharing and helping the team was a challenge, as they have been only focusing on self for many years, rather typically from birth. So if we look at the personality adaptation chart, this is the distribution of the 6 personality adaptations in the control group. And if you observe it, it is interesting to see that a major chunk, that is more than 50%, were playful resistors and enthusiastic overreactors who were doers. The enablers were 19%, and which made our life easy to form the squads. So the concept of doers and enablers are interchangeable. So like Shri had already mentioned, so many time in an organization, in a project, we may see the rules change during the process of evolution. The planners may not foresee all the contingencies, and at those instances, they become emerging leaders and then take on the roles as doers. So here there is a comparison of the pre and post research. So the initial average marks of the students before forming the squads were, they were noted down, and the same was taken after the squad was formed, and there was significant increase in their performance. So the initial split of the toppers, average performers, and below average performers were around 23, 48, and 30%, whereas we saw a 7.03% increase in the overall scores. The below average performers moved as average, and the average moved to toppers. Though from a percentage point of view, the number of average performers remained the same, but the improvement was seen in toppers and below average performers. So the next slide is the statistically validated results. So if you see, the p-value is more than 0.05. So our hypothesis status Q, which says, hypothesis of status Q was rejected, and the null hypothesis, which mentioned that squad formation has a significant impact on their performance, was accepted. So to further prove that the squads have significant impact on the results, a small challenge was conducted by giving a similar task to the controlled group and a regular group of students. So when we observed that in the controlled group, the conflict of interest was managed better, enablers were able to motivate themselves as well as influence the doers. As a group had developed mutual trust, confidence, and respect for each other. This was not found in the case of normal group, where the focus was more on individuals. So the result of experimental research is a comprehensive model, which we calling it as psycho-agilical. This term is unique as it's a combination of psychology in the form of personality adaptations and ego states, and agile in the form of enablers, doers, and squads. So this model would be beneficial for parents, students, and educational institutions, where the students nurture each other, coexist, co-create, and emerge as future leaders. So, an addition to this may be that the students would be awarded extra points for coaching their peers from enablers' perspective, and for doers for improving their performance. So this will be a motivating factor and could be a cadence mechanism. So the wider aspect, sorry, any question? Okay, so the wider aspect of personality adaptation, which can be coupled with agile framework, it's actually a vast and deep dive, could lead into further research, which is something which probably we would be working on in future. So we would like to take a minute to acknowledge people who helped us and contributed towards this topic. Dr. Selvin, who's the Deputy Vice President, Service Center India, Renault Nissan Business Center. Our guide and pillar of support, Mr. Kishore Kumar Bhatt, Colonel Satyanarayanan, Mr. Praveen Chandran, our Agile coach, Padma Priya Devarajan, our chairperson, when we did this for the ERA conference, Professor Dr. Vanuti Balasubramaniam, our discussant, Mr. Anbu Joseph, and our entire ERA conference team who had become an extended family to this journey. And that is the reason why we are here today at Access Agile presenting this paper. So we have also provided some references here, and we are open for any questions. Okay, if there are no questions, then thank you so much for being here.
Thanks to the Agile Festival team for giving us an opportunity to present here. We are looking forward for more such events to learn from you to enhance our skills and to share the little knowledge what we are gaining over a period of time back to you. So it's giving back to the society, I would always call it. So thank you very much for the opportunity on a Saturday evening. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much to one and all.
Thank you.